Have you ever wanted to go on a murder revenge streak that would cause you to visibly age decades over the span of a single day, only to realize you were wrong to do so, and should instead be seeking to forgive and teach your father's murderers the error of their ways in order to achieve your own personal enlightenment? Then SIFU is the game for you. If not, SIFU is probably still the game for you, because let me tell you all, SIFU is great. I am Rush, and I got a review of SIFU on PC hot and ready for y'all, so let's talk about it. SIFU is a kung fu action game that has fighting game and roguelike elements present. The overall premise of the game is you play as a young man or woman whose father is attacked by a gang of martial artists and killed by their leader, and then they kill the main character. Your character, however, is revived by a talisman they have in their possession, and this sparks an 8-year-long training montage which leads into their quest for vengeance. First, I want to talk about the presentation of SIFU, the style, the graphics, and the levels. I would say overall this game looks pretty good. The game has some great layouts and style for each level, like the hallway fight scene and the squats, the change between the interior of a nightclub and the burning buildings in the club level, and the museum boss room for karaoke looks absolutely stunning. Also, the animation for each move that can be performed by enemies and the player look great. Some are flashy and stylish, and others are powerful and dangerous. In particular, the finishing move you use on enemies are so enjoyable and satisfying to watch. From the first one you see when starting the game to the last one you'll see when you finish it, I felt like I was always seeing new ones depending on the context and positioning of the player and the enemy. It's a real feast for the eyes for this game. Okay. Okay, I'll take that. Next, the reliability of the game. While I am happy to report that the game never crashed for me, this game does have its fair share of bugs, ranging from funny and harmless, like chairs randomly exploding while walking next to them. Nice, okay. Well. Why? Why did that explode? To very frustrating, like getting stuck in walls during a fight, requiring a total restart of a level, which can be compoundingly more frustrating due to the roguelike elements of the game, which can result in restarting a whole run. Oh my goodness. Oh. Wait, come on.
Father, help!
I'm stuck. Wait, can I? Let's get me up. No, I'll just burn a focus. With reliability out of the way, let's move on to the story. Now, the story of SIFU is simple at first glance, but has some good depth of character and presentation. It at first will appear to be a straightforward revenge story, requiring you to beat up every minion on the way to a big bad, and to some extent it is this, but thanks to its cool detective board mechanic, which unfolds over multiple runs of levels, and the 2 endings that you can achieve, you will find most of these characters have interesting motivations or backstories, with my personal favorites being Kuroki and Yang. The voice acting in SIFU is not incredible or disappointing, really. It is fairly middle of the road for me, though if I had one critique, I wish the protagonist had more to say about what is happening to them or around them outside of just what you can read in the detective's board. I want to get into a small bit of spoilers here, so I'd recommend skipping into the next chapter if you want to play through the story organically and learn the story for yourself. I really enjoyed the theme of revenge versus forgiveness, and how forgiveness leads into teaching a better path as a mentor, or as a SIFU, as it is in Cantonese. With your first playthrough having you probably struggle to just kill the boss for the first time and leading into the revenge ending, whereas the second playthrough will allow you to show your mastery and allow you to hit the slightly harder spare mechanic with the bosses. A small critique I have of this is that it is a bit odd that you will go out of your way to spare the bosses of the story and improve your Wuda, as it's called. However, the underlings of these bosses freely brutalized or killed. No problem at all. This doesn't affect the story or your character's Wuda, and I just find that is a bit odd that you can't also choose to spare the underlings in any meaningful way.
He who has Gong Fu and Wu De makes the other know he can break him. His hands go out like lightning, and the other doesn't want to fight anymore.
With everything else out of the way, let's talk about what is most important in any review: the gameplay. SIFU, as I said earlier, is a kung fu action game with fighting game and roguelike elements, and I think it nails these elements for the most part with some small caveats. To give a hopefully short overview of the game system, essentially the game functions as a player selecting a level and going through it, fighting sets of minions as you explore a mostly linear level with some mini bosses along the way until you reach the boss at the very end of the level. You fight enemies with a satisfying amount of light, heavy, or focus attacks to either reduce their HP bar or fill their structure gauge to perform a finishing move on them to defeat them instantly, while using blocks, parries, or high and low avoids to protect your own HP bar and structure bar, which if filled allows enemies to get off their own high damage attacks. The system is very similar to From Software's Sekiro, where defense and offense blend together beautifully, allowing you to even potentially defeat some enemies or bosses using only the parry and avoid mechanics. The combos and abilities you can unlock and perform are so satisfying as well. When you pull these off, you can set up and execute some really impressive sequences that feel straight out of any cinematic fight scene. Defeating enemies rewards you with experience to unlock more advanced and powerful skills, while Jade Dragon statue checkpoints in the levels allow you to increase other attributes like your structure bar or damage with weapons or your focus bar. Skills and upgrades acquired will be maintained between levels, however going back to the start of any level in progress results in the loss of all progress in this level, upgrades acquired during the specific level, and all skills acquired during the entire run until they are earned again. However, the game does have a mechanic where buying a skill 5 times will result in that skill being permanently unlocked for all future runs and restarts. Dying in SIFU does not end your runs, as you can revive mid-fight at the cost of your age, with each death adding 1 year to your life and consecutive deaths compoundingly adding more to this until you reach the age of 70 and truly die, resulting in a game over condition. However, game overs only send you back to the start of your current level, with all previously mentioned losses being enforced. Overall, I think the gameplay is fantastic, but as I mentioned earlier, I got 2 nitpicks with this game. The first of the 2 criticisms I have is the sweep attacks and their tied low avoid mechanic. Some of the sweep attacks that enemies throw at you can happen so fast with a very short amount of tell time that in a lot of cases it makes it better just to eat the sweep attack, and if you get put on the ground, to use the unlockable ground counter skill to turn the table on the enemy instead of trying to engage with the appropriate low avoid mechanic. Sweeps really caused me to rage at one specific boss that loved to chain them back to back to back and could not be ground countered. Oh god. Oh man. I would probably say maybe the sweeps need a small sound cue or maybe just a few more frames of a tell. However, I'm totally willing to admit it could just be a skill issue. My second criticism is a bit more difficult to explain, so I am probably going to ramble a bit here, and I apologize in advance for that. However, the roguelike elements of this game, of losing skills if you restart a level, feels bad and not fleshed out enough, in that you do not have to go all the way back to the first level if you fail and hit a game over state. Instead, you can restart the same level at the age of when you first arrived, with all statue upgrades of previous levels still unlocked. However, because you lose all the skills you have not permanently unlocked, the current level will likely feel even harder than the first time you arrived. On top of that, you have no way to make up for the experience you just lost, and as a result, I felt that choosing the give up option was pointless when you died, and instead would just choose to age up instead of restarting a level, as restarting a level early often just meant restart the whole run to farm experience again. Also, it meant some very difficult boss fights just resulted in just throwing yourself at them over and over and over until you beat them or you pass the age of 70. It doesn't promote the idea of going back to the tutorial and learning, or facing some other enemies to learn some mechanics. SIFU also does not have any other roguelike elements like random enemy placements, random level layouts, random skill and upgrade paths, and overall to me, the roguelike portion felt a tad undercooked. I don't have a realistic solution to propose for this one, unfortunately, as going completely roguelike or completely action game will ruin the flow or themes of some portions of the game, so it's just a nitpick that I have, honestly. Another small criticism I had that slipped my mind until now, there is no manual lock-on in this game, and sometimes that can really hurt when you are fighting a group of enemies. You cannot choose to fight a specific enemy to focus on them, as sometimes your character will focus another enemy that might be a little bit further away or might be closer, despite you wanting to focus another enemy that you're about to break and finish off. You'll be facing the wrong way and you can't send attacks towards them. Overall, SIFU to me is a solid 8 out of 10. SIFU costs $40 normally on Steam right now, and I was able to clear the main story twice and get all achievements within 16 hours. The game also has an arena mode and level modifiers that I did not really engage with. However, that could easily add a handful more hours with all the potential additional challenges. So I can confidently say, for most people, SIFU is a game worth buying at full price. This is Rush, and I hope you enjoyed my review of SIFU on the PC. Please, if you enjoyed the video, drop me a like or a subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Oh, and don't forget to hit that bell. Also, let me know what you thought of SIFU in the comments below if you've already played it, or let me know if you saw my review and decided to give SIFU a try. I'd love to hear about that as well. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Thank you. Goodbye.